It's 9 o'clock. We're going to call the meeting to order. Oh, there's Daryl. He just made it. Perfect. So everybody's here. Okay, first we're going to have a moment of reflection. Thank you. Disclosure of pecuniary interest you can do now at any point in time through the meeting. And confirmation of the agenda. And there are no amendments, I don't think. Motion to do that. Councillor Wilhelm, seconded by Deputy Warden Higgins. Those in favor? That's carried. And we have consent agenda items 5.1 to 5.4 and the January 27th, 2022 council minutes. Anybody got anything they want to see pulled on that? Don't see any hands. So I have a motion that council receives the consent agenda items 5.1 to 5.4 and approves the January 27th, 2022 council minutes. Moved by Councillor Kasenberg, seconded by Councillor McKenzie. Those in favor? That's carried. And then we're going to move on to public meetings, hearings, and delegations. And number one is budget. And now it is Corey coming on to say a few words, or are we going to go right straight to?
We brought Corey in.
Oh, there's Corey. Okay, Corey, we're going to do the budget here now.
Thanks, Warden Council. I guess the only update I need to provide to Council is what had transpired from the previous meeting. There was an item of an additional $10,000 to the tree planting program under grants. So that has been added, and I'm just going to share my screen quickly here. So if everybody can see the screen there, so that now includes the $10,000 addition. We've gone now from 5.87% to 5.92%. Again, taking consideration growth, we're looking at a levy increase of 3.29%. And then just an aside from that, how does that impact the median properties within Perth County? Again, highlighted as the single family home at 259,000, being a increase of $21.98, and farmland just under $1.5 million would be an increase of $31.54. I'm just going to, can't seem to figure out how to stop screen sharing. It's not on my area here. Oh, thank you, Sean. Perfect. And I guess the that's a 39-cent increase to the residential property and a 57-cent increase to the $1.5 million farmland property. That's all I have to update council on. So I'm going to kind of turn it over to the last two presentations, and we'll have Public Works, John McClellan, Director of Public Works, John McClellan, popping in here to present the Public Works Department.
Good morning, Warden Aitchison. Good morning, Council. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
And are you seeing my screen?
Yep.
John,
Yes.
John, what we're seeing is the PowerPoint. If you just want to go from the slideshow there.
Thank you, Tyler. Is that good?
That's worse.
You need to go up to display settings.
Yep.
Click that and then switch the swap the presenter. Yep. Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for correcting my technical difficulties there. Good morning, Council. Here's the 2022 operating budget for the Public Works Department. And since we've got a little bit more time today, I hope, I might just pause after each division, if that's okay, just given the length and complexity of the Public Works operating budget. And I'll just take questions or answers. Is that okay, Warden Aitchison and Corey?
Yeah,
Okay.
If the warrant says so.
In 2021, we
we
had
give you
a lot.
limited time, but we do have a little more time.
Thanks. In 2021, we had a number of successful road and bridge projects. The road projects were all under budget, and we had very good workmanship on those projects. We also coordinated a lot of works with our member municipalities through our capital tenders. We covered off a lot of road safety initiatives in 2021. Something I'm very proud of within our department. We brought to you rumble strip policy, school zone speed limits and flashing lights, and our road safety speed awareness signs. And we also tackled a lot of issues and concerns with speeding and things like that in our villages. We made a lot of progress on our major facility projects for better accessibility, security, and space needs for the county. And certainly given the pandemic conditions, once again, it has really emphasized the need to work effectively together with our lower tiers and our boundary partners. In 2022, we see a few opportunities and challenges. One thing is to investigate and provide council alternative procurement methods for procurement of some of our like fleet assets and things like that, and certainly some of our contracted services. In 2022, we will be renewing our contracts for winter maintenance, salt supply, salt hauling, facilities snow removal, and facilities lawn maintenance. We have some challenges faced with that, with increases in our operating budget, and trying to keep those increases to a minimum, especially when we're faced with increasing contractor costs and rising material and equipment costs. We're looking to develop an internal pavement condition rating system to help us manage our road assets in the future. We're also looking to develop a framework for a master transportation plan or something like a master transportation plan. We're going to continue to review and modify our operational procedures to effectively complete maintenance activities and work efficiently through the current pandemic conditions. We're going to also bring back to you more road safety initiatives and continue to work cooperatively with our policing services. And this year should be a wild one for facilities, as we're looking to undertake a lot of major facility projects at the courthouse campus. First up in the operating budget is the Public Works Administration budget. And that includes things like corporate overhead and administrative staff salaries and benefits. And as you can see by the pie chart here, corporate overhead makes about 81% of this budget, or 1.265 million. We have set the 2022 Public Works admin budget at 1.569 million, and that's a decrease over 2021. We then take that budget and we distribute that as overhead to our three divisions: roads, facilities, and fleet. Is there any questions with the Public Works Administration budget?
Don't hear or see any there.
Hearing none and seeing none, we'll move on to the roads division budget. And that allocates funds for our general road maintenance activities and winter maintenance. And we categorize it into the following areas of responsibility. Our general maintenance items, we've budgeted 2.18 million, and that's an increase of 132,000 over 2021. Our capital maintenance, which is funded from our capital roads reserve, is budgeted for $675,000, and that includes things like crack sealing and pavement preservation. Winter maintenance is budgeted at $3.9 million, and I'll get into a little bit more on that in the next slide. That's an increase of about $80K over 2021. And then our roads division has an administration budget of its own, and that sits in 2022 at just under $2 million. And included in here is 70% of that public works administration budget that we looked at before. We then take the roads division administration budget and distribute that over all of our general maintenance activities and our winter maintenance as overhead. Also included in the roads division budget is revenue and reserve transfers and work for other municipalities. In 2022, our roads division budget is set at $4,153,335. That's an increase over 2021 by just over 200,000. And I've said here on the slide, this is primarily due to increased material costs, but just to update council, I think what you have in your budget binders for our general maintenance items and our winter maintenance is we provide projections of what we think we're going to be at the end of the year in 2021. And I think what's shown there on the sheets within your budget binder is that we were projecting to be pretty close to being on budget with both general maintenance items and winter maintenance. And as it stands today, I just took a look this morning, our general maintenance, our actuals are sitting at $2,438,000. And that's 387,000 over budget. And I can tell you the biggest increase there and why that is over budget is in municipal drain assessments, which is under ditch and tile as a maintenance item. And that makes up about 350,000 of that over budget number. Those municipal drain assessments did come in later in the year, late in Q4. However, on the winter maintenance side of things, we are currently under budget. We're sitting at just under 3.4 million, which is about 430,000 under budget. So once again, we're over budget on our general maintenance, under budget on our winter maintenance, but overall, we're still projecting to be on budget with the roads division. So just a little bit more on winter maintenance. Again, 3.9 million is budgeted for 2022. That represents an increase of about $80,000. If we take a look at the graph that's supplied, the 5-year average for winter maintenance sits at 3.7 million. We are budgeting for an increase over that 5-year average in 2022, primarily because we anticipate increased material costs and contractor costs when we go to renegotiate those contracts. The winter maintenance reserve is sitting at $340,000. $340,000. However, I just want to point out that variances between winter seasons can be in around 100 to 300,000, and one major snowstorm can certainly impact those variances. As again, we see increased material costs impacting our maintenance budgets, and noticeably in line painting, signs and shouldering. And then again, we've seen a steady increase in upgrades and maintenance costs for our municipal drains. Is there any questions for the roads division operating budget?
Warden Matt Duncan, Councillor Duncan has a question.
Okay.
John, are you communicating with the drainage superintendents? Because I know in North Perth, you're probably going to see a bunch more of those assessment costs coming up this year, just knowing how much municipal drain work we have on the go.
Yeah, through the warden, we're usually notified, and we obviously do receive the reports for these municipal drain assessments. We receive those well ahead of time. However, we never know when the work's going to get completed or when that will be invoiced to us. So it seems like it's the end of the year when people are invoicing and playing catch up, that we see a lot of these things come in. So municipal drains has always been cyclical in nature. For whatever reason, we continue just to monitor that budget. We also try and do, when we receive these assessments, obviously we see the county's portion in there. And if there's any way possible that we can do the work ourselves, we look to do that as well. So does that answer the question there, Councillor Duncan?
Yep, that's great. Thanks, John.
Okay. If there's no more questions and hearing none, we'll move on to facilities. And generally our facilities operating budget doesn't change from year to year. We have seen some increased costs due to cleaning through the pandemic, and certainly materials in those budgets. Expenses to operate all of our facilities is budgeted at 2.688 million, and that's an increase of 43,000 over 2021. We do have an admin budget that in facilities that is budgeted at 400,000, and we distribute that as overhead over all of our facilities, and that's proportional to the each facility's operating budget. We then charge rent to all our departments and divisions, and that's based on an annual operating expenses and an annual component of capital maintenance costs. And in 2022, we are not changing any of the rent rates. And again, we have 14,000 budgeted in this facilities admin budget for the county's portion of the climate change coordinator, which is shared by the area municipalities. One thing we do have budgeted in 2022 is a facilities maintenance worker. And in this year, we do have to go out and either negotiate or tender our contracted services for snow removal and grass cutting at our facilities. And just to be clear, we are very satisfied with our current contractors and the service that they do provide us. However, and we're certainly, we're very hopeful that they would be providing bids and or submissions again this year. However, we do expect the number of bids for these types of items to be somewhat limited, and we certainly expect increased costs for both of these services. And this is primarily due to increased insurance premiums for contractors and especially our material costs here. So again, on average, our snow removal costs at our Stratford area facilities, which includes the courthouse, paramedic services headquarters, and archives, averages just over 40,000 each year. On average, our contracted grass cutting services at our facilities is 7,500 per year. And again, we expect those costs to increase when we go to renew them. One alternative is to hire a facilities maintenance worker, and that person would perform snow removal duties at the 3 Stratford area facilities, as well as grass cutting and grounds maintenance at all of our facilities. When not performing those duties, the worker would be assisting our operator and our supervisor in the maintenance of our buildings and providing a backup for after hours calls and emergencies. The salary for a facilities maintenance worker ranges from $69,000 to $77,000 a year. That includes benefits and the 2022 cost of living increase. The Public Works Department currently has the equipment to perform both snow removal, material spreading, and grass cutting operations. and a trailer to transport some of that equipment around. And just so council is aware, this worker is budgeted within the facilities operating budget. However, it does not directly affect the levy. And regardless of how we handle these services, whether it's internal or external, we've budgeted over 50,000 for snow removal at the 3 facilities and for grass cutting services at all of our facilities. The additional salary is distributed at our facilities as labor. And at the end of the year, if the facilities budget, operating budget is in a deficit, that comes out of the facilities reserve. And if there's a surplus, it goes back into the facilities reserve. Is there any questions with the facilities operating budget and or the facilities worker?
Gordon, Councillor Wright has a question.
I got my hand up, John. I have a question for you. So the paramedic services headquarters, would that not have to be cleaned more than once? Like, I don't think a single person can do all these jobs like you're talking. Like, paramedic services might have to be cleaned 4 times a day, correct?
That, through the warden, that is correct. We main those bases and the headquarters are maintained as an ad-need basis, and but we fully expect we can handle. That's why we'll be limiting it to the 3 Stratford area facilities for that person, and 1 person could handle those duties with the 3 facilities, even with the frequency at the headquarters. We would still retain contracted snow removal services at our other facilities, such as our paramedic services bases. And Councillor Wright, I think you're on mute there. Is that answered your question?
Well, it does. I just don't think that can be done. I don't think you're going to get that person to come in every 6 hours, 7 days a week and keep it at, there's going to be a ton of overtime for that particular person. Because you got to pay them a minimum of 4 hours, I'm assuming. So if they got to come in at 5 in the morning, 2, 11, 3, 7, and 9 and midnight, that person's going to not be able to work those hours. So I'm not sure how that plans in here, unless the paramedics and other people are going to also work at that job. So if I don't know how you can justify that person doing all that work as an employee, but I'd like to see it.
Through the warden, and no, this would be handled through the facilities, and just the timing of everything can be handled with our current staff. Any other questions?
I think we're good, but I don't see all the faces, so if somebody has a question, speak up. Not hearing anything, carry on.
The fleet operating budget is similar to facilities and does not change substantially year to year. Each piece of equipment has line items that include insurance, fuel, labor, and materials and parts. Expenses to maintain our county fleet is budgeted at $2.378 million, which represents an increase of $40,000 over 2021. We then generate revenue through equipment rates for all of our public works activities, such as winter maintenance and shouldering, and then fleet rent in the case of paramedic services. Just so for an example, a light winter season will certainly decrease our winter maintenance operating budget and hopefully lowers our maintenance costs on our fleet. But we aren't using our equipment as much, and therefore we're not generating the revenue on that. So effectively, we're not putting as many dollars in the fleet reserve, which funds our future capital fleet replacements. And that's something that Treasurer Bridges has addressed in the capital budget with the transfer of, I believe it was 700,000 from the roads reserve to the fleet reserve. Sorry, is there any questions for the fleet budget?
Not hearing any, John.
Hearing any? So for 2022, some of our strategic priorities are the capital road reconstruction for Perth Road 131, Perth Line 8, Perth Road 1, and Perth Road 139. 2 bridge rehabs in Pool and Millbank, which are on Perth Road 121. And we do have a planned road project in 2023 on that road. So we're looking to get those rehabs done this year. We do have a number of small culvert replacements on Perth Road 101, which is a boundary road with Oxford County. For our capital fleet, we're looking at purchases of a triaxle plow, pickup truck, a backhoe, and a loader. We're in 2022, we'll be doing our road needs study and also looking to bring back tender results for the courthouse elevator project, either next meeting or the one after. At 5 Huron Street, we're going to be doing design work for the renovation and connecting link addition, and hopefully ready to go out to tender by the end of 2022. We'll also be considering within that construction a courthouse generator, and looking for to do a project that has funding for a security wall or door on the 2nd level of the courthouse. Some major repairs at our facilities include the flat roof repair at Paramedic Services headquarters and sand dome repairs at our Mitchell Public Works yard. As I said before, we're looking to develop an internal pavement condition rating system to help manage our road network. And we're looking to seek a multi-year winter maintenance contract extension or an alternate arrangement for winter maintenance. Any final questions with the Public Works operating budget?
John, didn't the backhoe become a mini excavator in your budget?
Through the warden, yes, that is one alternative we may look through in that purchase. We'll just be looking at whether it is a backhoe or potentially a mini excavator.
John, if you can just stop sharing and then the warden can see everybody.
Oh, there's another hand up. Councillor Wilhelm.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to wrap my head around this winter maintenance revenue. And what difference does it make whether we have a lot of snow or a little bit of snow other than the cost of the operation, maintenance, and sand and salt? So if you have a heavier winter, the operations roads department charge more? Is that how you generate or regulate the revenue? Because to me, you have X number of dollars put in there no matter what, whether it doesn't even snow, you have X number of dollars in there for equipment, etc., manpower. So how do you generate revenue and how does it vary in the snowstorm, whether it's lighter or heavy winter? Can you kind of help me understand that?
Right, and
Corey's
through the
got his
warden,
hand up. I'll let Corey take a run at that.
Thank you, Warden. Through the warden, good question, Councillor Wilhelm. So what happens is that every hour a tandem truck or triaxle truck is on the road plowing, it gets a rate. So it's charged at a rate, and the expense goes to the winter maintenance side of the program, but the fleet side gets the revenue of that rate that we charge. Within that rate, there is a component of capital renewal. So when the trucks are not on the road, the capital renewal side of it does not get into the fleet side because the winter maintenance side expenses are not being generated. Is what we call is our own equipment and how we get the cost of our own equipment into the services, the end service that are utilizing those fleet assets. Hopefully that tries to answer the question, Councilor Helm, but if you need any more information, I can provide that.
Other questions? I'm not seeing a whole lot of questions. Not seeing any hands. I got a quick question. So we have a bunch of tenders to get renewed in 22. Just out of curiosity, when are those going to go out?
Sorry, Warden, which tenders are you referring
We talk
to?
about grass cutting and snow removal and different things.
I guess that's dependent if the budget's approved and we move forward with facilities maintenance worker. Those primary ones would fall under that. Otherwise, we'd be looking to go out to tender here in the spring.
Okay. No other questions? I guess we're good for you, John,
Thank you.
by the looks of it. And we will move on to the next department, which is emergency or EMS. And we'll just have to bring up Mr. Mike Adair.
There we go. That's better. Off mute.
Morning, Mike.
Morning. Hope everyone's well on this post snowstorm morning. Through the warden, thank you for the opportunity to share our 2022 budget. So I will go through our slide deck as previous departments have, and of course at the end you'll have an opportunity to ask any questions, but interrupt at any point, warden, if you need to. So I will just start with going over our accomplishment slide. As you're all aware, the pandemic continues. So despite the pandemic and a significant focus of our operations for 2021 was focused on this. And it's unfortunate that we are still focused on it in 2022, but that's what we're here for, and we'll continue to do that. And hopefully we can start thinking about recovery in the near future. I was hopeful that the end of last year we were heading in that direction, and we're in the middle of a speed bump, but we'll continue to move forward and support our community. So some of the highlighted accomplishments that I wanted to present today during the budget was, I guess, first of all, that, throughout last year, we, as everyone in this group is aware, we've continued to work on supporting our community through providing vaccines, through swabbing, through connecting with patients that have mobility issues that otherwise might not be able to get into a vaccine clinic or go for swabbing. We've been experienced with those, caring for those with COVID-19 in our community. So really a huge accomplishment for our team, for our paramedics, and for our administration team. We've also, at the same time, connected with two modernization funding and development projects. So we received 65% of our funding, up to $75,000 for mobile connectivity to come into the modern age of being able to connect our ambulances directly with dispatch. So we're in the middle of that project and implementing it with a report that goes back to the province at the end of this year or in the end of Q3. So we're looking forward towards that. And then the other project being that we're doing a deployment review with with Oxford County and with Elgin, and we will be presenting those results to council. And that's just looks at our efficiencies and are there any opportunities for us to work with neighboring services to the best of our abilities and capacity. So we've invested in our peer support team this year, and that has grown, and it's been a really important team to help our paramedics get through COVID, and also just through the daily operations of being a paramedic in a ambulance service. We've completed the legislative requirement of the new of going through a certification with the province. Now that's a bit on hold because they've put some of their activities on hold due to Omicron, but at the same time, we were able to present all of our information successfully to them, and we look forward towards their final and preliminary reports. We've continued to keep equipment and vehicles running during significant supply shortages, and we've always been one step ahead, so I'm proud of the team for that. And then finally, we've been able to continue to interact with our community through things such as social media and through our new Safe Space campaign. So those are some of the highlights of some of the things that we've done, and I know that we've done many more things, but those are just sort of shows the kind of year that we've had in 2021. And I'll go on to slide 3 here. So the next thing is, if we look at opportunities and challenges moving into 2022. So certainly, as I mentioned initially, Omicron is a bit of a setback for us. I feel, we've had to shift once again during a pandemic, and it sounds like a broken record really when I say that, but it is, it is something that we continue to respond to and work both with our paramedics on and the community. Paramedic wellness during, our paramedics are fatigued, as all health human resources are across, in fact, all of Canada and North America. And mental wellness continues to emerge to the surface as an important subject and topic for us, and we'll continue to focus on that in 2022. We will be negotiating during a pandemic, but we'll be negotiating our QP paramedics new collective agreement, and it expired at the end of December, and we've had 2 meetings so far, which were positive, and we're going to move into getting into sort of further into that in the very near future. And we continue to, I put a note in here just about the rate of change. So, I'm very grateful to our paramedics. I'm grateful to council. I'm grateful to our system partners and the other departments, frankly, within the municipality that continue to help pivot each step of the way, because we do have a lot of change that's required, and we have received a lot of support from all these entities, also including Medi Health Services. So if I look at some of the opportunities moving forward in this upcoming year, we're going to continue to develop our frontline leaders, invest in developing our commanders, those that are constantly and continually working with and interacting with our frontline leaders to make sure that we address their needs and to make the job as least stressful as possible. We're going to be looking at doing a comprehensive standard operating procedures review and refresh. And so we'll be working closely with my department as well as Medi Health Services just to make sure that we have best practices employed across the through some of our policies, and we're doing things effectively and safely. Our deployment review findings, the findings will come out to council, and subsequently we will make recommendations on how we deploy our ambulances across the community, and some of which will come to council. And so that's something to look forward towards during this year. The mobile integrated health and alternate care models is a significant change and something that we'll be investing a lot of time and energy in this year as the team continues, as we spend the long-term care funding from the Ministry of Long-Term Care. And we basically bolster the services that are provided to the citizens of Perth County. So we look forward towards doing that. And alternate care model, we were approved this year as well and we invested in 2021 in some early training for our staff in helping persons who are experiencing end of life in their homes, where paramedics may be able to, in the near future, respond but not transport those persons to the hospital and help support those families. And so we'll be working on developing that plan and rolling that out as well during 2022. Which brings us to slide 4. So some of the things that we're looking at doing this year that will have an impact on our budget in terms of staffing is, first of all, is adding 0.9 full-time equivalent hours to our, I'll call it the part-time pool, but into our full-time equivalent pool. And so this is an investment for backfilling paramedics so that we can have meetings, communicate, do some on-job leadership training, as I've mentioned here, have hours that we can send our peer support team to annual training and doing those types of activities. And that comes hand in hand with some of the time that we were trying to figure out last year after we made the adjustment of that significant adjustment in terms of having a shortfall of those hours. So now we're just kind of trying to fine tune that. During 2022, we'll also be looking at adding a logistics coordinator. That's something that was planned for in 2019 and was to be implemented in 2020. And we did hold that off for a year to have less of an impact on the budget. And this person really would be the person that behind the scenes will help to keep our ambulances and our equipment running. Not from a mechanical standpoint, from a mechanical standpoint from the ambulances, but from keeping the equipment's preventative maintenance program running, working to ensure that we are always stocked, that we're ready to go, that we're standardized. This position also was earmarked for a lead role in advancing our automatic external defibrillator, PAD program, public access defibrillator program. So they'll be working in that. So that's one of the FTEs that we'll be adding. And then the third thing is a significant increase to our staffing. And while the first two are 50% funded from the province, this one is 100% funded from the province. So with the announcement and the report that I brought to council previously, you're aware of the fact that community paramedicine continues to be invested into by the province. And so this is the outcome of that. So we're looking at bringing in one manager, one admin person, and 6 full-time paramedics into this program. And the funding that has been announced goes until the end of the fiscal year of 2024, so March of 2024. And we would certainly be hopeful that with the success of the program, the province will continue that programming for our paramedic service. And then just 2 other things that I mentioned here was the training. Training is to include alternative destination and leadership development. So I talked a little bit about that before, and that's one of our focuses on training this year. And then technology, there is ongoing and continuing costs of that mobile connectivity that I was discussing before, and some of that will this year be offset by the modernization funding, which we're real pleased about. Our strategic priorities moving into next year, and I'll be relatively quick for this. First of all is the response to the COVID pandemic. Whatever our community needs, we're here for, as we've been the past 2 years. We're going to plan for COVID-19 recovery and have some goals moving forward so that we can capture the lessons that we've learned over the past couple of years and continue to be prepared for the future. Mental wellness, as I've mentioned before, mobile integrated health and alternate care, we just discussed that, and our standard operating procedure refresh. And with that, that ends my presentation. So I'm going to stop the screen sharing so that the warden can see everyone's faces, and there we go.
Perfect. Anybody got any questions for Daryl? Councilor Hurley.
Yeah, a few words. Yeah, no, great report there. But alternative in-home care, excuse me, that is something that really interests me. having dealt with my mother pass. Of course, bless my sisters. They did an amazing job, but we kept my mom at home. And in this time, it was very, very just to the soul. It was nice to keep her at home with the restrictions. This is something that really interests me because I felt it, and we had nurses coming in, but this sure would be something if we could focus in on this, because I see the benefits firsthand, and we have all these baby boomers coming now. It's something I hope that the province and local level that we really consider, because it sure is nice. And I think it would really help with the bed issue we have. We're going to be short. We are short. Our healthcare is overloaded, and whatever we can do and focus in on this. And even if we need to rally the province, I believe this is a way to go for the next 30 years for sure. That's my thought. Sure hope we see some progress in this, and whatever you guys can do there, I'm interested in. Keep me up to date, and I'm sure council is interested as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Herlick, and through the warden. Yes, it's an important subject, and we're actually part of, I don't know if we would call it a pilot project, but a pre-approval through the Ministry of Health to join in with this program. So Oxford County will be doing the same thing, and maybe Huron might as well. But yeah, we're real pleased, and I think, you know, this speaks to bringing in this mobile integrated health manager who's going to, this will fall under their umbrella. And so initially our mobile integrated health team, which will be 24/7 once we get the new version up and running, will have will be able to access these patients, which will be fantastic. And then we can help support families in new ways that we haven't in the past. And really initially, like, instead of, you know, someone might still call 911, but, you know, as I said, instead of going to the hospital, we might be able to do more for the person at home, just so that we can avoid those hospital visits. So it is a huge, it is a huge, it's not a huge, fortunately right now, it's not a huge patient set in terms of all the calls that we do, but it would make a significant difference for those families, and we recognize that. So thank you for those comments.
Other questions or comments for Mike? Not seeing any. Looks like you're getting off easy, Mike. Good job, good report. Yeah, and there may be some more additions coming to this service here at some point in time too, hopefully. But yeah, that further to Councillor Herlick's comments, there will be progress there. I'll guarantee you that with what we're going to do. Wouldn't you say, Mike?
I would, yeah. It's an exciting time for paramedic services, but, you know, even more so really just for the, and I truly believe this, I'll say patients in our community, because there's just more options to access care. And, you know, you know, we'll continue to tailor our response to the needs of our local community in the way that it's meaningful to us. And I do believe we'll continue to make immediate and meaningful, you know, differences based on what we're doing, and we'll keep council apprised. And I look forward towards many more dialogues with this group over the year. So thank you.
Thanks, Mike. So, no further questions for Mike? Then we're good to go. So, Lori,
Oh, yeah. I'm next.
you're next.
Thank you, through the warden, and good morning, County Council. So the next report is on the Committee of Affordable and Attainable Housing's 2022 work plan. And I did send this report to you. And so last time we met, Council had before them the 2022 work plan from the committee. This is a committee of council. The work plan has 3 sections, 5 goals, 11 action items. Out of the 11 action items, 8 are flagged for needing a 1.0 FTE. to implement that plan. However, out of those 8 actions, 2 relate to work on a community improvement plan. Council has not yet approved a community improvement plan. So I would, those actions can't proceed until council has actually approved that. And that leaves about 6 action items that correspond to the full-time equivalent request. So council could action some of the goals in 2022 with additional resources, or they could pause the work plan until the OP is complete. Either way, staff certainly will need council direction on this matter. Regardless of the direction today, the committee will be part of the consultation scheduled for the OP, and that relates to action item number 3.
Okay, thanks, Laurie. Questions on that from any of the councilors? Councilor McDermott.
Yeah, when this came along, it wasn't supposed to cost us anything, and it was not supposed to take up staff time. And here we are now, it's costing and taking time. I can see them doing action number 3. But I mean, we have the United Way, Western Wardens, and everybody else now looking at affordable housing. So this is kind of repetitive, and I cannot see taking staff time to do something that everybody else is working on.
Other comments or questions? Okay, the reason I had, Councilor Wright.
Our official plan is going to cover some of them too. We've talked about this at our meetings. That when the official plan comes out, some of this stuff will also be in it. I don't want to say I was dismayed, but our chair of our committee, the United Way, Ryan Erb, they struck off on their own and did a project right in the middle of our committee. Now, that's fine because he's separate. Maybe we should look internally at our committee a little bit too, to what our end goal is. Because like I said, and I've said, there's a ton of groups and organizations doing the exact same thing we're trying to do. Todd's already doing it up in North Perth. They have their financial, I don't know what you want to call it, Todd. Their subs, help me out. Their tax levy is already in there for their programs. So North Perth is doing something on their own. I think maybe West Perth would do something on their own, but we got to get our CIP and our official plan in order before we get right to the nitty gritty of this. If anybody agrees or disagrees, that's just my opinion.
Deputy Warden Negus, I think, had her hand up, and then Councilor Kazenberg after that.
Right, just to echo what's already been said, yes, Western Wardens has studied this, social services, the government. It was a main topic at Roma last week. North Perth, United Way, we've all studied it. We've studied it to death. And I think we need to spend our money in other ways. We have the tools to make things happen here in Perth County, and those tools are in our official plan. So if we want, and we're already doing it in some of the municipalities, that you can put a second dwelling on your farm. You can make a second dwelling in a house. You could make a shed into a second dwelling, or a garage into a second dwelling. We have the tools to do this, to make affordable housing, and that's what we should be doing. Subdivisions. We need to encourage our subdividers when they're building that they need to do multi-res. And in Perth East, we've been doing that. We have some apartment buildings going up. We have duplexes going up and triplexes. We've had 2 subdivisions come to us in our term of council here, and neither one of them had multi-res in. They were all single dwelling houses. So you can't have it both ways. Yes, we might need a community improvement plan. We did get money for Main Street revitalization, all the lower tiers. What did they do with that money? Did they put it towards their main streets? We did in Perth East. Also at Roma, they said housing has other connections. We shouldn't be putting in a silo on its own. There's a whole lot of other things that go with it. So this committee has been a good committee. I sat on the committee. We brought in some speakers. We learned a lot from those speakers. We learned a lot from the citizens who were with us, but to keep studying something I'm having a real problem that we're going to hire someone to do another study, and I'm not sure where it's going to take us. Because I think we already have the tools and we should be using what we already have. Thanks.
Counselor Kassenberg had his hand up.
Well, I guess I have a little bit of a different opinion, obviously. I think that, you know, I think to Rhonda's point, we have studied a lot, and I won't question that. The time for action is here now. The official plan certainly is one of those actions, and it has been delayed certainly from when I first arrived on the scene in ways that were unexpected. And those delays at times have even created a reticence to change the current official plan around some affordable housing policy. We're doing some of that now. I noticed that OPA 202 is wending its way towards us, and that would be an important change with regards to removing the barriers that exist to additional dwelling units on properties. I think, though, that ahead of the official plan, we must lead. And in some ways, the opportunities are ahead of us. I won't disagree that after the official plan, there will be more opportunity. But affordable housing isn't just a policy realm. It's a realm for a range of actions, including bringing together disparate groups, developers, real estate agents, not-for-profit housing builders, social services, a broad range of community stakeholders. And if there's a role for us to play there, then we should play that. And so from my perspective, and perhaps maybe there's a question here for Lori, the suggested amount to be allocated, what do we believe that time, whether it's consultant time or staff time or whatever, will actually address against those priorities, just so that I have that straight. Before I get an answer to that question, though, I do wish to make one more comment. We fund an office with a number of employees that relate to economic development. But right now, the most significant economic development activity that can be done for improving our future is to make sure that there are affordable homes for workers who would work in the very businesses that our economic development team is bringing forward. So in some ways, it can be argued that we've got the cart before the horse. Now, Mr. Warden, if you would invite Ms. Wolf or someone else to answer the earlier question, I'd be appreciative.
Okay. Lori?
I will try, sorry, through the warden. Thank you, council. I will try and answer your question. So when we look at, this is my understanding, and this is why I've come up with the amount that I have. When you look at the first goal relates to adapting from governments, nonprofit organizations, private sector inventory of readily available tools, incentives, etc., so that we're looking at what's already available, and it would be an inventory or a catalog of the opportunities available for developers, whether it's federal, provincial, municipal, or nonprofit. It would be a listing or catalog that would act as a reference for those available incentives to educate those developers on the resources at their disposal to help them achieve the building of affordable housing units. So that particular activity, it is in number one, the first one, and it's education related. And we would pull together what's available out there. And it is a short-term assignment. So that's what we're looking at for that one. When we're looking at action number 1.2, it relates to the creation of an education plan that would inform general public stakeholders, developers. And what we'd be looking for that, it's about using, first of all, the consistent definitions of affordable and attainable housing when community partners are collaborating. And then we create an action plan. It would be a framework for an action plan. I will say that the county's OP review will provide an opportunity for council to set those policies relating to the percentages of housing in developments that have to be affordable. And we can control, I guess, to a certain extent, what the various types of housing in terms of density are. what we can't control is what those units sell for. Certainly, we can have an impact on that through a community improvement plan, which we don't have approval for, or a framework for right now to know exactly what it is that we would be presenting to council. But the education plan could be developed as part of the new OP implementation plan once it's complete. We would be doing that. So this work would get us started on it, and then would obviously have to be dovetailed into the completion of the OP, and to make sure that the work we do right now is consistent with what we end up at the end of the day. Whether that would have to be updated, I suggest it probably would. If we're looking at action number 1.3, develop a Yes in My Backyard communications campaign. I know that ACTAB is already contemplating perhaps a workshop on this particular item. So we would be able to have some education in that regard. Your priorities relating to advocacy in number 2, that requires, the committee has indicated that would be a consultant, so we wouldn't be doing action in number 2. Number 3, we already have confirmed that the committee would be consulted during the process of developing the draft OP. So there would be engagement with that committee in that important role, because there is an advisory role there for the committee. Number 3.3, create a system to determine and track the current inventory of housing and potential secondary units. This action, I understand, relates to the development of a system to track data, so information can be shared with realtors and other partners. Now, planning staff are required to track the consumption of land and how much has been used for subdivisions. And in 2022, there already is a project relating to file tracking and implementation for a software system. We'll look to see if that can integrate with other systems, including GIS and cloud permit, because the county doesn't issue building permits. So we wouldn't, that's where you would be able to find out where all those other units are. We'll consider the possibility of such an inventory if it's possible when we do that other particular review. So I don't see the new FTE being needed to assist with that particular item. The next item in number 4, it relates to a CIP. So those wouldn't be done until council gives us direction that we are proceeding with a CIP. And we can bring that to council this year for sure to do training and a workshop. So council is fully informed on what that would look like from a 2-tier system and what it would look like at the upper tier. And then there is item number 5.1. And that is action that I understand relates to research and the creation of a database from external resources, as opposed to readily available information, which we'd be looking for in number 1. And I would respectfully put that forth. I will say to council, I was not at every meeting with this particular committee, so I don't have the in-depth knowledge, but that's my understanding of this particular work plan and the items we could move forward.
Councillor Duncan. There you go.
Sorry. We've done a lot of studying on this issue, and I just heard Lori say we can designate land in the official plan as affordable housing, but we can't control what those units are sold for. So in the end game, development's a business. Those guys are looking to make money. The only way to entice developers to build affordable housing is to dangle some sort of carrot to get those developers to do it. Whether that is breaks on development charges, breaks on taxes, or plain and simple government money. I think it's time that we start looking to where the rubber meets the road here and actually make some progress on this. If we want to build affordable housing, we're going to have to sit down and say, what kind of financial hit are the rest of the taxpayers in the county and the lower tier municipalities willing to take to create affordable housing?
Thanks, Matt. Other comments? Counselor Hurlick, I think your hand's up there.
Oh, very interesting. Of course, Captain Most I stand on this. It's interesting, and we watch inflation. We watch the Bank of Canada not up interest. I've said it a million times, but I'd rather pay 6% interest on a $200,000 house as opposed to pay 2% on $1,200,000 house, the same home. What are we trying to get at the end of the end? 10, 20, 50? How affordable, alleged affordable houses? I don't know. A mission statement is ample, I believe. We're going to just keep beating our head. I look at us local farmers, what we're seeing, and if you're younger with a family, kids out of school, kids in school, daycare is stretched thin. Everybody is taking on debt at a rate, and we're just going to throw more at it. I don't know. I think more of a mission statement. We've studied this, and that's more than ample. What do we want to obtain in the end? I'm a for-profit kind of guy myself. The idea of non-for-profits scare me. The more you get into it, you see who's involved. Boy, they run a unique. I'm a clear and transparent guy, and I have no problem with anybody making a buck and making it visible. So I'm not in favor. Anyways, we go forward.
Other comments? Counselor Wilhelm?
Yeah, I think as it's basically been stated that this is very important to all parties involved. However, it's also been stated that there's numerous groups involved in this working towards it. And I can't agree to putting a full-time person in. However, I could go along with the 18,000 that's suggested to ensure that our staff has some time and resources to assist these other organizations. And maybe we have to take another look at this once our new official plan's in place.
Other comments? Okay, so further to Counselor Duncan's comments, so those things he indicated, that would actually be a
CIP.
part of the CIP, but also be more of a function of the lower tiers because they're the one that sets the tax rates for their own municipality. But good ideas nonetheless. So the reason I wanted this brought up is because it was brought up when we were doing budget last Thursday. Yeah, last Thursday. And before we can approve the budget, this has to be dealt with. So I actually do have a motion here, and we'll see where it goes. Council receives a report titled Affordable and Attainable Housing Committee's request for the one full-time dedicated staff to implement work plan report. And that CAO be directed to take the necessary steps to advance the Community of Affordable Housing's work plan items 1, 3, and 5, and I'm not sure what the exact decimals are on those, and realign the balance of the work plan with the official plan project with funding up to $18,000 from the levy stabilization reserve fund. So basically that's what that's saying is it will work on items 1, 3, and 5 with that 18,000. There won't be a full-time person. So that's a motion I've got here, and we'll start with that. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Kasenberg, second by Councillor Wilhelm. Any more discussion? Those in favor? Okay, just keep your hands up. That's carried. It's carried. Okay. We've got that dealt with there now, so we're going to move on. And any questions or comments now regarding the overall budget that we had presented last week and this week? Councillor Wilhelm.
Well, I'd like to see it lower, the increase lower. However, I think we've been through this fairly good, and I'd like to point out some areas that we can reduce it, but I can't. I think staff's done an excellent job, and I'd be willing to go ahead and make a motion that we approve this budget.
Okay, so you're making that a motion? Yep. So do I have a seconder for that motion? Counselor Kellum. Yes, we'd all like to see the rate lower, that's for sure, especially when everybody's kind of struggling.
So if that goes through, we'll bring the bylaws forward.
Yeah, so I have a motion here and I'll just read it fully in principle. Perth County Council approves the 2022 capital and operating budget in principle and directs staff to bring back the necessary bylaw to that effect. So I have moved by Councillor Wilhelm, second by Councillor Kellum. Those in favor of that motion? That's carried pretty well unanimously. Okay, so the budget has been approved in principle. I'm sure we're gonna have the odd variation before the year's over. The one thing about, just further to Councillor Wilhelm's, we could sort of maybe defer one thing or so to make it lower for this year, but it's only gonna cost you more next year, so you might as well do it now. Okay, we're gonna move on here. So we are now at, you've already done the affordable and attainable housing portion. So we are at the service award and recognition program, and is Jess bringing that forward?
Can everyone hear me okay?
I think so.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Through the warden and members of council, good morning, everyone. Today, I'll be presenting the policy changes and program development for the Employee Service Awards and providing an update on the newly developed peer recognition platform. I will take the materials as read, but I will share some highlights from the report. The Service Award program was created over 16 years ago, and it was time for a refresh to better suit employee needs. In the fall, an employee-led service award and recognition committee was created to ensure we capture the needs and wants of staff accurately. To that end, we developed 2 employee surveys that we use to solicit employee opinions on their award preferences. We used this information as well as benchmarking and found it was in line with industry standards. As you will see in our policy and program, we responded to the needs expressed by staff, and we have done the following. We created a peer-to-peer platform where staff can send positive notes to other coworkers for a job well done. They get acknowledgement from their managers and are celebrated at our monthly staff meetings. Since the launch of the program, since the launch of the recognition platform, we have received 17 positive messages that have gone out to staff, recognizing them for their hard work and appreciation for a job well done. The committee has worked with economic development to source local Perth County vendors to include in the service award program for staff to enjoy, which is a true representation of supporting local. Paramedic services will be presented. It is recommended that paramedic services will be presented with medals and service bars to wear on their uniforms to show their Perth County pride for their years of service. In order to implement the program, the total cost is $6,500, which allots to an overage of $1,550 as seen within the council report. This amount does cover past employees for years 2020 and 2021 who did not receive a service award due to COVID-19. The financial impact of 2022 is recovered by the General Reserve. The funds are assigned to the County General Reserve and will have no impact on the county's budget. That concludes the highlights of the report. Are there any questions?
Thanks, Jessica. Questions for Jessica on that report? Deputy Warden Nagels.
I'm just wondering how council will be informed of all these employees getting recognition. Like you talk about an internal webpage, and that's great for the staff, but I think as a counselor, I like to know too when someone meets a milestone and how many years they're with us and what department they're in. And that's what I did like about the banquet, because unfortunately we can't always know every employee. And so can we get a report, maybe even their photo, so we know exactly who they are too? There's nothing more embarrassing than when you don't know who all the staff are, but like I said, there's so many paramedics and so many public works, we just don't see those employees. But it would be nice for us to know who we're recognizing as well. Is that a possibility?
Through the warden, and thank you for your question. Yes, that definitely is a possibility. We do have an internal platform for service awards where it hasn't been launched as of yet, but staff are able to go onto the platform and click on the years of service as shown in the, I believe Appendix B, and you're able to see actually a PDF pop up with all of the employees' names. I can see if I can grant access to council as well. Would that be fair, or would you like a different route of information communicated to council?
No, that would be all right too. Just however we can find out, whatever's the easiest for staff to do that for us.
Yes, through the warden, that's definitely doable on our end. Thank you for your question.
It's actually a good idea. Especially over the last 2 years, most of you counselors haven't seen a fraction of the staff, and there is new staff, and you probably would trip over them and not even know who they were. Other than seeing on the screen. Any other comments or questions on that? Councillor Hurley.
No, I'll just echo in behind their Rhonda's comment. It would be nice if we can get tickled in there with some of those important milestones. I know I've worked at places before where they recognize that. And yeah, just to recognize your services is always good, and it's a good option here. Thank you.
Other comments or questions? I think this is a great idea because not all staff get to the appreciation banquet. We haven't had an appreciation banquet for 2 years. So, and the reason some of the staff can't get there is like EMS, they're working. So this is a great idea, great platform. Thanks, Jessica. So I have a motion here. Perth County Council receives the service award and recognition report, and that council endorse the recommendations to implement the updated program for the 2022 calendar year. Moved by Councillor Kazenberg. Seconder, Councillor Ait. Last chance for questions. Those in favor? She's carried. Perfect. Unanimous. Lovely. Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're moving on. I keep losing my pages here. We got a weed and tree report.
We're on.
No, we're at
Planning services modification.
draft plan of condominium. Planning service, and that's Melissa's doing that, right?
That is correct. Good morning, everybody.
There she is there in the screen. Perfect.
I'm here. Let me just
Okay.
share. Let me just share my screen. I have a quick presentation for you. Can everybody see this?
Yeah, it looks pretty good. Do you want that made bigger, Tyler?
Melissa, if you could go.
Yeah.
So,
Is
yeah,
it okay now?
that's great.
That's
Thank you.
perfect.
Okay. So good morning again. This is a modification of a draft plan of condominium for Southside Estates. So the condominium modification is for a residential subdivision in Milverton, located south of Mill Street and east of Main Street South. The modification to the draft plan of condominium has been requested to remove block 21 from the approved condominium. It is highlighted blue on the screen. After the original draft approval for the plan of condominium was granted in 2014, blocks 20, 21, 22, 19, and 17, that was the original condominium application. Block 21 was conveyed. Block 21 now has a 6-unit apartment building, and the owners are renting, and they do not intend to operate them as a condominium. So the lot fabric and the streets were originally created by a plan of subdivision that was approved on October 2nd, 2014. And that you can see on your screen in black outline. Following approval of the plan of subdivision, Southside Estates received draft approval for a plan of condominium on September 3rd, 2020 for blocks 19, 17, 21, and 22. And the intention of the original plan of condominium application was that the apartment units would be all sold as condominium units. I'm just going to show you some images. So on your left is the block 21 that is being removed. Block 22 is under construction. This was the photos were taken just this past summer. So block 22 on the right is staying with the plan of condominium. And the two lots, block 19 and 17, are still vacant. And they're being shown as future phases on the plan of condominium. So this is the plan of condominium. The property is designated serviced urban area in the County of Perth official plan, residential in the Milverton official plan, and zoned a residential high density R3 or R3 in the Perth East zoning bylaw. Blocks 17 and 19, which are on the left side, have site-specific zones to permit 12-unit apartment buildings, and blocks 20 and 21 have site-specific zones to permit 6-unit apartment buildings. Blocks 17, 19, and 22 are still owned by Southside Estates. Following final approval of the plan of condominium, these apartments will be operated as a condominium. Even though they're shown as future phases, I just want to highlight for you the fact that both are in site plan now in Perth East and are waiting planning approvals. So as I mentioned earlier, block 21 has been sold. So it is appropriate that we remove it from the plan of condominium, and my report reflects those modified conditions. Also, this condominium approval modification was endorsed by the Council of the Township of Perth East on July 7th, 2021. And that concludes my presentation. I would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thanks, Melissa. Could you just stop the screen sharing and then I can see the screen?
Yep.
Perfect. So questions for Melissa on this report? Councilor Wright?
Melissa, so it's going to be run as a condominium, but it's not going to be a condominium? Or is it going to be run as an apartment building? Use the word condominium and apartment building there together.
Or through Warden Aitchison. So actually the remaining blocks, 17, 19, and 22, the one that you saw as under construction, so those are they're staying in a condominium. The 3 will remain a condominium. The one that just got sold, which is block 21, that is a rental building with 6 units.
So it won't be under the Condominium Act, and probably all 4 of them will come eventually. I kind of watched your council meeting on Tuesday night too, but I was confused and I can't ask questions there. So it's just going to be an apartment building now, a 6-unit. Rhonda, why are you laughing? A 6-unit apartment building, this one will be.
Exactly. So the one that they're removing from the condominium, originally all 4 blocks were to be a condominium corporation, but they have since sold. So they built block 21 first and have sold that one off. So that one is no longer part of the condominium. It's just a rental. The remaining 3 blocks, the remaining 3 blocks are still part of the condominium corporation. One is being kind of wrapped up now. The 2 on the left-hand side, which are 17 and 19, they're in site plan now at the moment. So obviously those developments will be proceeding in the near future.
I did not know you could start as a condominium and then sell it off and make it an apartment building. Thank you very much for the explanation.
Well, actually, because they never got fully registered, right? That's
Right,
that's what.
okay, so
Yes,
that's the-
yes.
okay.
That's
Thank you.
no problem.
Other questions for Melissa? Don't see any hands. I don't think I'm missing any. Okay, I have a motion. Perth County Council receives the modification of draft plan of condominium file PE 20-01 modification request. Report by Southside Estates affecting property described as block 17, 19, 21, and 22 on registered plan 44M-58 in the township of Perth East, 20, 25, 28, and 33 Murray Court, Milverton. And council approves the application for the modification of draft plan of condominium by Southside Estates Incorporated, affecting properties described as blocks 17, 19, 21, and 22 on registered plan 44M-58 in the township of Perth East, 20, 25, 28, and 33 Murray Court, Milverton. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Deputy Warden Agate, seconded by Councillor Hurlick. Last chance for questions. Those in favor of that motion? That's carried unanimously. Perfect. Thanks, Melissa. Okay, we're going to move on. We're actually getting along not too bad here. Perth County Weed Report. I believe Sean's going to do that.
Good morning, Warden. Through you, yes, I'll provide the report for Marvin this morning. Through the Warden and to Council, the report is just the standard annual report on weed inspection activities within the county for the previous year. If you have any questions about the report, we can certainly forward them to Marvin Smith for follow-up with council at a later date, but just wanted to review briefly. In total, Marvin investigated 19 complaints related to weeds in 2021, and just please excuse the typo in the executive summary. It does say 2020, but it should read 2021. However, none of those complaints necessitated any weed control orders. And as Clerk Sager mentioned at last week's council meeting, Marvin was very complimentary of the county's road staff and their efforts at controlling noxious weeds on county right-of-ways, as only one of the 19 complaints he received was actually on a county roadside. And so that's everything I wanted to highlight in the report, and happy to receive any questions to forward to Marvin.
Questions, Councillor Hurlick?
No, I really enjoyed this report. He laid it out nice. What a great review for sure. No, I have to agree. The county has done a good job with weed control in these ditches. I believe we better just keep on track with where we are for sure. It's something I don't want to see get out of control. I myself have got a bunch of weed complaints in Perth East, in my ward in particular. No, as much as, you know, it's always good to have a holistic approach around pollinators. I agree. There is lots of farmers and homeowners putting in wild vegetation areas, and it's interesting. A lot of people don't know as well. The canola growers and such, they bring in swarms and swarms of pollinators for canola fields and different crops in particular. The West is really huge on it. When those pollinators come in, they do their business everywhere. It's just, you know, as we become a industrialized world, we have to look at all angles, and they do a good job supporting pollinators commercially as well. And lots of times that gets skipped or forgotten about. I believe we better just keep on where we are. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? I think the next time you were speaking into your computer there, Daryl, you're gonna have to keep your head a little straighter, because you were good, then all of a sudden you'd cut out on me, then you'd be good, then you'd cut out a bit. I'm not sure what it's like on the at home, but it's a little cutting out here periodically. Anyway, I have a motion. Perth County receives the Perth County Weed Report 2021 report for information. Moved by Councillor Duncan, second by Councillor McKenzie. Those in favor? That's carried. And we'll move on to the Forestry Tree Administration Report, and Sean's doing that as well.
Yes, thank you, Warden. To you and through you to council. This report is just a basic annual activity report relating to the administrative aspects of the county's forestry program. The report is before you, but I wanted to briefly highlight a few items in the report. In 2021, the county received 142 notice of intents, or NOIs. This averages out to approximately 12 per month. And January was the busiest month, where we received 25 NOIs, and November was the least busy, when we received only 6. another news, County Council also passed a new forestry bylaw in September, and this included a number of housekeeping matters, primarily related to the administration of the program, moving from the planning division to legislative services, as well as updating and clarifying a few definitions and processes. And then finally, on December 10th, the county hosted a virtual information session reviewing the new bylaw, as well as the inspection and prosecution processes. And this session was attended by several members of the local logging community and included presentations from county staff, as well as County Bylaw Officer Marvin Smith and County Prosecutor Daryl Howerlick. And a recording of the session was produced and is available on the county's YouTube channel. And that's everything I wanted to highlight in this report, and happy to take any questions at this time.
Okay, questions for Sean on the forestry report? Councilor Hurlick.
Just a comment, that name's pretty close to mine. I can see some confusion there down the road. Oh, boy.
Questions? I'm going to bring up one little thing that came up at Perth South Council at one of our last meetings. And that is the fines, et cetera, that are affiliated with tree rule breakers. And our council thought maybe that needed a bit more bite. So I think Perth South's going to maybe launch or initiate a bit of a review on that. Just people seem to be able to go out and whack down trees, and the penalties aren't maybe stiff enough to stop them from doing it in the first place, I guess is the word I'm going to use. Anyway, I have a motion here. Perth County Council receives the 2021 Forestry Program Administration Report. Moved by Councilor Duncan, seconded by Councilor Wilhelm. Those in favor? That is carried. Unanimous. Perfect. Moving on. We have Corey coming up for the investment portfolio performance. We're going to get through this quicker than you think. We don't have a closed session today, do we?
No.
Oh, I just looked through my. Do we? Corey on, where you go, Corey?
Thanks, Warden. I do want to thank the council for the approval of the, in principle, the budget. It was a solid effort from not just myself, but the rest of the team here at the county to provide you what you have in front of you. And thank you very much. And I appreciate the opportunity to present this budget to you guys. So you do have in front of you, actually, another maybe all right story is the 2021 investment portfolio performance. So back in 2020, we segregated some of our funds and put them into shorter medium-term notes. Within those notes, there's a significant amount of principal protected items and notes in general that we're seeing with the pandemic and the increases. We're actually seeing quite an ample return on those principal protected notes. Within the report, our annualized return for 2021 is just under 6%. So the report is there. If there's any questions on the report, I'll be happy to answer them.
Questions for Corey on this report? For being a dollar protected account, that's actually a pretty good return. Okay. I have a motion. Perth County Council receives the 2021 investment portfolio performance report for information. Moved by Councilor Wilhelm, seconded by Deputy Warden Agats. Those in favor? That's carried. Okay, council reports. We got anything there? bylaws? No. Notice of motions? Other business? Anybody want to bring up anything under other business? Announcements? Okay, we do have a short closed session.
No, we don't.
No, we don't?
So through the warden, the items that were listed for closed session, we will be moving forward to either next
February 7th.
next council meeting, so next regular council meeting.
Well, that's why you were tricking me. I seen this on my agenda and went, "Oh, I don't recall a report.
Yeah.
We don't have a closed session next month. Do we need to address the motion to approve the agenda? Because that was in there.
Yeah, we should have removed it.
We should have removed it. So I'm gonna go back to that first motion approving the agenda, removing the closed session report. And I don't know who made it and seconded it, but
Just have a new.
we're gonna do a new motion, not gonna go back. Motion to amend the agenda to remove the closed session report. Counselor Kellum, Counselor Kazenberg, those in favor? That's carried. And actually, I should have something to add to your closed session next week as well,
Okay.
maybe. Okay, now we have confirmatory bylaw 3855-2022 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council of the corporation of the county of Perth at its regular meeting held February 3rd, 2022. Is ready first, second, and third time and finally passed February 3rd, 2022. Moved by Counselor Duncan, seconded by Counselor Wilhelm. Those in favor? And that's carried. And now we just need a motion to adjourn at 10:36. Moved by Counselor Wilhelm, seconded by Counselor McKenzie. Those in favor? Carried. Thank you.